My name is Jim Oliveira, Executive Director of the MassHire Greater New Bedford Workforce Board, located in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Today, it's my job to introduce you to the exciting career of working in the field of cybersecurity. Now more than ever, the need for cybersecurity experts is in demand. Through the following interviews, we will introduce you to 4 experts in the field who will describe their current roles and provide tips on how to enter the profession. Now about our presenters who represent a spectrum of knowledge in the field. They include Stephanie Helm, Director of the Mass Cyber Center, Mass Tech Development Corporation; Chris Rezendes, Managing Director of INEX Advisors; Steve Zaromsky is the Vice President of Information Technology and CIO at Bridgewater State University; and finally, Professor Goiken Kuhl, University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. This series of interviews is sponsored by 4 regional workforce boards located in southeastern Massachusetts that include MassHire Brockton, Bristol, and South Shore. Our collective total workforce borders on several 100,000 workers. Through extensive labor market analysis, we determined there is a high demand for new workers within our region in the information technology sector, especially in the field of cybersecurity. Our next guest is Chris Rezendes. Chris represents the private sector, and I know you represent a couple of firms. Who do you principally represent, Chris?
So my name is Chris Rezendes, and I'm the Chief Business Officer at a company called Context Labs. We're a software company, and we focus on providing trust in data for our clients.
What's your role of cybersecurity in your industry?
Our industry is focused on helping big companies and small companies, their risk and finance partners, government agencies, or non-governmental organizations. When we think about how important cybersecurity is or information security is, we think it's only becoming more important, and it's only becoming more important for every single entity on the planet. Because if we're going to try to not just be productive and profitable, but if we're also going to try to be climate aligned and to be equitable and inclusive and to be transparent, then we're going to have to take into account a broader collection of data. And as you broaden that collection of data, you introduce new risks. So we would argue that cybersecurity and information security shouldn't be this thing that's other. It should be core and central. And it shouldn't be this thing for other people. It should be this thing for all of us.
What sorts of occupations require training in cybersecurity?
We would start with anyone who has anything to do with risk, anyone who has anything to do with leadership, and we would argue anyone who has anything to do with, quote, working in the real world. As the world gets more connected, the concept of risk gets a little more complicated. So we would start with the folks who are responsible for risk generally. We would argue with the folks that are responsible for leadership in any organization specifically. And then just about anyone who I think wants to be as productive and successful and intentional and aligned as possible needs to spend at least a little bit of time in the space called cybersecurity.
How would you describe a typical workday for those in cybersecurity occupations?
So occupations like mine, my role is to sort of serve as a translator so that folks who have obligations or have goals and objectives that are going to be related to their ability to make the best possible decisions means they're going to need the best possible data. I think the most important thing for anybody in the space is to really focus on human communication and clarity in human communication. So that'd be first. The second thing I'd say is for the folks that are in the business of coding or architecting these digital systems, if their businesses are primarily digital, then what their days look like is such a broad spectrum because there's so many dimensions to cybersecurity or cyber physical security, information security, but creative people, skeptical people, optimistic people, there is a role for almost every type of person to be a contributor in a cybersecurity organization or operation. It isn't just, the archetype of the pocket protector and the big heavy glasses and the people that are just look like they've been in dark rooms for decades. No, there's lots of space. And here's one thing I am going to say. Whenever I've been in what I'd consider to be the most elite or exclusive or the highest performing teams, rooms, those rooms are a diverse collection of people. There are more women than I think most people would expect leading cybersecurity and information security efforts. And there are more people from more backgrounds by way of education or culture, or by way of race or ethnicity, or by way of language or formal training.
What type of person is well suited for success in cybersecurity occupations?
I think the most important thing is someone who can take the pure pursuit in data science and in data integrity and in data security. So I think the most successful people understand that they've got some deep capability, some gift, if you will, some talent for cybersecurity, information security, or data security. I think that's the key, mapping those passions.
Chris, do you have any other advice you would like to add?
Check out what we do at Context Labs. We are literally working with some of those brilliant people in climate, in equity and inclusion, in risk, in finance and trading, in energy and infrastructure. We're having this opportunity to have this kind of conversation with some of the most talented people inside some of the most impressive organizations in the world, because there's a huge need for us to build these bridges. So if this was interesting, just check out Context Labs and see what we're doing. Give me a call, and if I can be helpful, I will.
On behalf of my regional workforce partners, I hope you will know a little more about the need to defend against cybersecurity breaches and the educational pathways needed to pursue a career. This effort is being funded by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development.